Hey yo, what's good y'all? Welcome back to 10-5 Plays. It's your boy 10-5 back with this heat, baby. So check this out. You all saw that Skyward Sword HD has been announced for the Nintendo Switch. In that Nintendo Direct that a lot of people seem to be crying over. Well, dry your tears, bruh. You're not a baby. We're getting this game. And just like we got Super Mario 3D World for the Switch, this game is going to get re-reviewed. Now, I don't know if y'all saw the review for 3D World for IGN, but they gave that game a 7.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Crazy. Especially considering the score they gave it when it came out on Wii U was what, like a 9 point something? Like, that's wild, bruh. So I can only imagine what they're gonna do to Skyward Sword HD when it comes out, because they gave that game a perfect score. That was a 10 out of 10 score for IGN. Now, I'm not trying to doo-doo on the reviewers, but it depends. It can go one of two ways. You know, Skyward Sword is a game that has been steeped in negativity since it's been released. Even though when it released, people loved it. At least most people. The reviewers sure did. We're gonna go off the IGN reviews here. What is IGN gonna say in 2021 compared to what they said when this game came out in 2011? Wow, we getting old. I was an adult when this game came out too. This is sad. Not young anymore, bruh. So what did they say about Skyward Sword on the Wii? Well, first they started off with Ocarina of Time has met its match. They called this the greatest Zelda game ever created up until that point, up until 2011. Better than Twilight Princess, better than Wind Waker, better than Majora's Mask, better than A Link to the Past. All right? Now, I'm not saying right now that I agree or disagree. I'm just saying what they said. They went in depth about how amazing the story is, which is not cap. The story was great. But they really did praise the story. They said it was greater than any story told in a Zelda game. They also praised the cast of the game. My man Groose, you know what I'm saying? Zelda herself, they praised how you felt like Link was saving Zelda, not so much because that's what you had to do, but you really felt like, as Link, you needed to save Zelda. And that was pretty big. You know, the supporting cast, the main cast, everything was crafted so well, according to IGN. Now, when it comes to Fee, I think that's how you pronounce her name, time has not been so kind to her. I remember people complaining about her when the game came out. IGN, however, loved Fee. They had nothing but positive things to say about Fee. When it came down to the controls, the motion controls were heavily praised by IGN. Intuitive, creative, and made great use of the Wii as a system. They said this was the best Wii game period, and they're glad that a big game like Zelda utilized everything that the system had to offer. That it made combat take more patience instead of walking up and hacking and slashing, which you could do if you wanted to, but you won't really get the results that you're looking for. You know, it made actually paying attention to the combat a thing. The review also makes note of the loss of a connected environment. You know, in Ocarina of Time, it will be connected from Hyrule Field, and in Twilight Princess, it will be connected from Hyrule Field. In Wind Waker, you had the ocean, I guess, which was a little tedious, but yeah. They praised how it made traveling a bit faster to the destinations you wanted to get to and the areas that you actually wanted to explore. So yeah, that was a positive for them. IGN loved the dungeons. They said they were very creative. They mentioned how you won't see those light torch to get the door to open type of puzzles. They were very intuitive, very creative. They made great use of the dungeon items, and that they were just generally creative and intelligent. Even the art style was praised. They understood that graphically this was a standard definition game, but with that, they still created a beautiful game that was presented with amazing quality. And finally, they praised the game's music while noting that it's a very high bar to follow because the Zelda franchise is known for having fantastic music. And they said that not only did this game also had fantastic music. It had great standout songs that can stand next to songs from previous games that are held in high regard. And then they went into their criticisms about the game. You know, they criticized the camera system and how it can kind of disjoint the gameplay process, and the recalibrations and how kind of constant that was, you know, with the controllers or whatever. And they acknowledged that some of the traditional Zelda things, you know, the cuckoos or cuckoos or however you pronounce them, are gone. You know, there's a weapon durability system in the game. You know, those types of conventions are broken. You know, there's a stamina meter, and that might leave a bad taste in veteran Zelda players' mouths, but it should be a welcome change going forward. Now that that's out of the way, how is this score gonna change when the HD version comes out in July? Will it change? Yes. You know, when it comes to the story, you know, I think IGN's gonna kind of keep the same tune. It's a great story. The story is fantastic. It still remains one of the greatest stories in Zelda game lore. I really don't see how points can be added or taken away to the story of the game unless they add or take away from the story, which I can see them maybe adding something, but taking away, I highly doubt. So if somehow IGN comes out and the story's a problem, trash. Next, the main cast is fantastic. You're damn right they are. I really don't see how this can change because the main cast remains fantastic. You know what I'm saying? They're all filled to the brim. You have characters that genuinely add surprise to the story where you're like, no. As far as characters go, this is top tier Zelda. Again, if they take away points for characters or they suddenly have a problem with it, it's capped. Now, the thing that will probably or maybe might change is Fi. Fi was annoying in the Wii version. There's no real way around it. Fi was annoying. Fi interrupted gameplay, and it was annoying. It was a pain in the ass. For me, Fi didn't really do much anything helpful. I wish she would just shut up for most of the time. You know, the constant dousing notifications were annoying. She kept teaching you how to do stuff you knew how to do, and you couldn't make her stop. So if they keep that in, the score is definitely going to be way lower. However, this is a chance to fix a lot of those annoyances. And if you look back at Twilight Princess HD and Wind Waker HD, you know, they took some of those harsh criticisms that people had about the game and they did their best to fix them. So I feel like Fi is definitely going to be something that's going to be fixed. As you can see, there are no more of the Wii remote icons on the screen. You know, they don't have a Joy-Con plastered on the screen from the front and the side every time you play it the entire time. That's gone. Thank God that's gone. So I can see them tweaking Fi to make it not trash. So if they tweak Fi, I can see it being a positive, because outside of that, I do like Fi as a character, and I like where Fi's story goes in the game too. If they leave Fi as the narrative device that Fi should be, that score is gonna, I mean, I guess it kind of stays the same. It's not gonna go down, but if they don't, it's gonna tank. Now the motion controls. This is gonna be a tough one, I'm not gonna lie. Like most things in life, bruh, motion controls are something that you either like, dislike, love, or hate. I'm not gonna lie, when I first played Skyward Sword, I was ecstatic with the way that they implemented these motion controls. Now, I myself felt like they did not overdo it. Maybe with the harp a little bit, because that was annoying. It was just annoying. But it was also kind of cool playing the harp. The thing that I like about the IGN review and how they talked about the motion controls is that the Wii is a system built around motion controls. And I thought the way that they utilized the motion controls in Skyward Sword were brilliant. I thought it was brilliantly done. I thought it was fun. I thought it was more engaging, and I thought it did make use of what the system is for. And you know, sometimes if you hear me criticizing stuff about Breath of the Wild or a Switch game, it's that they don't utilize the system to its full potential. But this took all that time of the Wii being a thing, and it incorporated everything the Wii had to offer into the game. Here, however, you have a unique situation, but also not. It's kind of the same situation with the Wii. It takes the Switch and it's utilizing what the Switch can do. It's a handheld, it's a home console. You have motion controls. It lets you play the game exactly like you used to, but the controls are gonna be better because the hardware is better. That's how I'm gonna play the game. That's how I played Mario Odyssey, and I loved it. But for those who don't want to, you can now play with, just buttons and the control stick, which is fantastic because that's what the Switch is for. You can either take the Joy-Cons out and play it, whatever, do whatever you gotta do, pop them in the Joy-Con grip, you can play it traditionally. You can take your Switch, you're at work, you can pop that bad boy on the top of a table, and you can play with one Joy-Con in each hand. With buttons or without, or with motion controls, it doesn't matter. You can play your Switch Lite with it and be fine. They are utilizing what the Switch can do, and I love that to the moon and back. The only way that this can fail is if the new button scheme is trash, which I obviously don't think it will be. It looks really good, it looks really smart, and it looks like a great way to get around, people's aggravation. With those changes, I don't see how that's gonna be a negative in the game. However, people have been crying about the motion controls in this game for years, so you might get some idiot reviewer who lived through the criticisms and just has a negative connotation to the motion controls and criticize the game for being built around them. I could definitely see that happening with IGN because it is IGN though. It might be some 600-pound guy who doesn't want to move his body or his hands playing the game, and he's mad about the motion controls even being a thing. You never know. Now, perhaps even more polarizing than the motion controls is the Overworld. Now, me personally, I didn't have a problem with the Overworld at all. I actually thought it was pretty good for what it was. We came off of, like I said, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, and Wind Waker for this. The criticism with this game that came about over the years, and if you look into GameSpot's review, is how not only does it stick to the same formula of Zelda, but it takes away even more of the traveling around aspect, as in there's no Hyrule Field. Now, I can see why IGN thought this was a positive because in Ocarina of Time, Hyrule Field just kind of felt like a tedious journey across the map. In Twilight Princess, Hyrule Field felt like a tedious way across the map. And in Wind Waker, where the islands were cool, getting there was a tedious trip across the map. They still weren't at the point where they can do a Breath of the Wild. And they solved it by having you fly around to smaller islands to, find secrets and do stuff, which I thought was pretty cool. I like flying the Loftwing and whatnot. But then when you go down into the different areas, they're big areas, don't get me wrong. It's just that they're not connected to each other. So you can't go from one area to the next. You have to go back into the sky, fly to where that area is, and go down. And I think you can fast travel too. I do like that more than the Hyrule Field stuff, just because there was really nothing there. It's not like Skyward Sword was leaps and bounds graphically over Twilight Princess and Wind Waker. You know what I'm saying? So I think that they did have a good resolve and they cut that middleman out and they made the areas themselves engaging, fun, and deep, which I did really appreciate. I loved exploring those areas, and just because it didn't have a main hub, besides the sky, to go in between each one, I still love them. They can improve upon it, of course, by maybe making a way to go from one to the other. Maybe just, I don't know, you go through like a cave or something. I don't know. Maybe they could just make it more convenient instead of having you have to go back to the sky and, go back down. They can even make it a cutscene. Go here, okay, and it shows you fly up, get on your Loftwing and fly down and then, drop down, but it's a cutscene instead of something you actually have to do. I wouldn't take that as a negative because in the context of the game, the context of the Zelda franchise in 2011 and the technology that was there, I think that they had the best result for the problem. I know people don't like to hear that, but I do. And when I played the game, I was fine with it. I didn't have a problem with it. I loved the areas that were in Skyward Sword. I'm sorry. Next, the dungeons. The dungeons were fantastic in that game. They were. I played this game not too long ago, recently, for a Skyward Sword video I did that nobody watched. So I'm pretty fresh on the dungeons and how much I loved them. The dungeons in this game were fantastic. They were some of the best dungeons up until this point in the Zelda franchise. However, IGN did leave out some of the iffy parts. You know, dungeons and dungeon bosses kind of go hand in hand, and that squid monster was trash, bruh. Trash. Just brought nothing to the game. It was a tedious fight that just was for no reason. And that dungeon was fire. It was a cool dungeon, and it was a nice change of pace. And then they just have this boss that was garbage. What's going on, man? So yes, Tantalus was trash. The Imprisoned was trash. They didn't give the game negative points for the 5,000 imprisoned fights you had to do in the game when it came out. They were annoying, and whenever I got the inkling that I would be fighting the Imprisoned again, I kind of wanted to save it and turn it off. Like I said before, they changed stuff for Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD. I'm pretty sure they're going to change stuff for this, and they will 100% change the Imprisoned. They have to. If they do change them, I doubt they're going to change Tantalus, which sucks. That's going to bring that score down. But it won't go down as much if they at least change the Imprisoned fight. If they keep the Imprisoned the way it is, that score is going to go down dramatically. Now, when we get into the art style, it comes down to how the game looks. Does it retain its beauty and charm from 2011? It sure looks like it. I saw the trailer. Not only that, but you can really appreciate it because it's in HD now. I just don't see how that score wouldn't go up. You know what I mean? But again, it's IGN. You know, the reviewer might be like, well, it should have looked better back then now, so now it's gonna suffer from this, so it looks like trash. You know, because you're gonna judge a Nintendo Wii game to the standards of 2021, where we have Cyberpunk. It's a remaster. I think that it should be reviewed as you're playing a remaster of an old game. Like I said, IGN. They gave Mario 3D World a 7. The music should still get the same flowers that it got before. Like I said, the soundtrack was great. They've become classics within the realm of Zelda music. I don't see how the score for that can go up or down. It was just, the music's great. It is what it is. But now we'll get into some of the criticisms of the game that they had back then. If the controls were great, there you go. That cuts one of them out. The camera was a criticism, but now you can control the camera with the right stick like any modern game, which I love, and I'm so excited to play this game like that. I'm so excited. I cannot wait for that. So that criticism should be gone. And you know, they had a problem with how the game ran sometimes and whatever, but you know, this isn't a Wii from 2005. This is a Nintendo Switch, bruh. Game's gonna run like butter. 1080p, 60 frames per second on a modern console, modern-ish. It's gonna be fine. So that criticism should be out of the water, which is good. But now the elephant in the room is that they did not criticize the game for sticking to the same Zelda formula that the series has always stuck to, like GameSpot did. So I don't know if they'll criticize the game for being formulaic to Zelda, or they'll realize the game is on here and we're playing it because it is the old Zelda formula that created the transition into what the franchise became. I guess it would be a problem if you're like, oh, well, we know exactly what to expect from the next game. You know what I'm saying? And that gets kind of annoying. This isn't Call of Duty. So I don't know if they're going to take points away for that. You know, that formula is dead for these 3D games. You know what I mean? So having this one on the Switch now so that people can kind of experience what Zelda used to be seems like a bit of a positive to me. But at least in the context of the game, I had no problem with it. And that's how you should be reviewing it. So all that's to say, the game is not going to get that 10 out of 10 masterpiece score that it got in 2011 from IGN. Like, I'll be the first to admit that they did leave out damn near all of the negative aspects about that game that could and should have been improved upon. They left it out of their review. It is what it is. They did. Unless that stuff is fixed, that score is going to shoot down. You know what I'm saying? It just is what it is. So you'll either get a reviewer who did not like Skyward Sword when it came out, hated it through this 10 years, and now that it's here, when they play it and it's the same game, it's gonna get a low score. It's gonna get like a 5. If you get someone who they played the game, it's not Breath of the Wild, obviously. They heard the criticisms through all this time about it, and it kind of being the poster child for the franchise is getting old. You know, they'll play it and they'll still like it, probably love it. It's gonna get either a 6.5 or a 7. But if you get someone who plays the game and they do have a great time, they do appreciate everything the game has to offer and what it was trying to do, and they judge it for the game that it is and not what they think it should be, it's gonna get between an 8 and a 9. It's not getting that 10. Well, again, look at Mario 3D World. Fantastic game. 7. All right, y'all. So thank y'all for listening. You know what I'm saying? I can't wait for Skyward Sword HD to come out. I'm gonna be right there. I already pre-ordered it. I'm trying to get those Joy-Cons. I want them so bad. I want them so bad. I'm sorry. All right, so thank y'all for watching. I'm gonna catch y'all later. Peace.